All right, welcome into another episode of the Lowdown Sports Show. This show is brought to you by the Basketball Podcast Network, presented by DraftKings. I'm your host, Drew,
And I'm BJ.
and we are here once again to get the lowdown on all things basketball. For the 22nd time, going around the association. Ladies and gentlemen, got a lot of things on the NBA and men's basketball side of things. Got a little bit of college to talk about. A coach, in fact, calling it a career. Also, got a lot of things on the W side. Not only some AU once again, but new schedule drop. We got to talk about some of those big games that are going down this season, the big time matchups, nationally
Absolutely.
televised games going on this year. Of course, we got a little bit of with it or quit it. PJ's behind that today. Uh,
hmm
what's on Drew's mind and BJ's best?
Yes, indeed, Drew.
Mm,
It's going to be a action-packed show yet again. And man, I know we're not going to start off with this, but I mean, Drew, it's March. The calendar is flipped to the maddest part of the year,
hmm
and don't be surprised next week if we're doing an exclusive episode or two. We've got some
mm.
exciting things to talk about once we get to the end of this episode.
Yes, maybe a surprise as well.
Maybe a surprise, maybe,
Maybe
maybe.
indeed. Maybe indeed. Maybe indeed.
Mm.
BJ, if you're ready, we can just get on into
Yeah, I guess let's go ahead and get on into it, shall we? It's been there's a lot of stuff to get into.
it.
So,
Indeed. Quite a lot of things. And one of those things is what we're going to start off with.
mhm.
Pau Gasol, one of the Laker legends, had his jersey retired recently, and he is one of not too many Lakers, BJ, to have that jersey hung up into the rafters, uh, right
Yeah,
beside
it's
his buddy Kobe Bryant
yeah.
as well.
And you know how much that he and Kobe, how good of a relationship they had together, and Kobe, I didn't wasn't able to get this clip pulled, but Kobe said that without Paul he wouldn't have won those last two titles that he
Oh
won,
yeah,
which is no doubt in my mind. And you can hear what Kobe meant to Paul Gasol in this clip from his speech the other night.
I can't go on without talking about the person in the face that I don't see. The brother that elevated me, inspired me, challenged me to be a better player, just to be a better man overall. I miss him. I miss him so much, like many of us do. I love him. I wish he was here with Gigi. I really do. But I think he'll be proud. And he was looking forward to this moment. So, I love you, brother.
And it's tough not to get a little teary eyed yourself hearing the
hmm
emotion that Paul Gasol has in that clip for his brother.
yeah, it's definitely an emotional time. We all basketball fan or most basketball fans miss Kobe Bryant. Um, Pau Gasol.
I think you can safely say that all basketball fans
Yeah,
miss
you
him.
could say, and more than just basketball fans around the
Yeah,
world missing
absolutely.
Kobe Bryant. But Gasol, the 12th Laker in franchise history to get that jersey hung up in the rafters. BJ Gasol had about 12 seasons in a row where he was averaging 17 points a game
Yeah,
and
it's bonkers.
just been dynamic ever since he stepped into the league with the Grizzlies and then with LA. And you talk about the championships he had with Kobe and how Kobe wouldn't have been able to get them without Pau. There's an argument that Pau should have been a Finals MVP in one of those
Yeah, there definitely
championships
is.
because
There
he
definitely
was
is.
he was a monster like none other. I believe that was
Absolutely.
2010.
I think it was. I think you're right. But I mean, you're talking about, this is Paul Gasol came over at the trade deadline in 07-08 season, and then he was there until the 2014 season, or until the 2013-14 season came to an end. And what a run it was through through thick and thin, but with those two guys, it was just you're talking about an average, Drew, for Paul Gasol in that time frame.
Hmm.
Let's see if we can find the seasons. So he was averaging 19 when he first came over, 19 points a game, 19 points a game, 18 points a game in the championship season of 09-10. Then the numbers dipped down just a little bit to 17 per game in 11, 12, 13, 14. And then his final, or his next last year, I should say, with the Lakers was his lowest at just about 14 points a game. But I think he missed some time that season, if I'm not mistaken, Drew. Or well, no, wait, that was the strike shortened season, was it not?
Uh,
2012,
which
13.
yeah, I believe so.
So even still, I mean, that was one of the
I've
fewest
been
games
12.
seasons he played
Oh,
with just 49 games that year.
sure. Yeah, I mean, and still, I mean, he's still able to play at a high level for a long
Hmm.
time. Things just started getting shaky with the Lakers. I mean, Kobe had some injuries in those years as well that were keeping him out.
Yeah,
So Powell had a little bit more on his shoulders, and they didn't have the same team. Along with
or the
aging and
same
those
depth. Yeah,
injuries and things like that. But as soon as he found a new home in Chicago, he was a back-to-back All-Star again. So I
yeah,
mean, even at ages 34 and 35, he was able, to be an All-Star back-to-back seasons, with a fresh start. So, but yeah, I mean, he was dynamic, man. My main memories with him are in those finals years and when he's wearing the purple and gold. Like not near as much in the Memphis times because I didn't pay as much attention to Memphis in those early years. Especially like when my favorite players coming in to the league, LeBron James. That's who I'm watching. But I didn't
hmm
remember the Memphis Pow as much. But the LA Pow is who I came to really know, and that player was dynamic alongside Kobe. And
yeah, yeah. I remember a little bit of his time in Memphis. Like when I first got into the game was when he was still in Memphis and was still one of the young superstars of the league in Memphis. And I think it was when the Mavs and the Grizz had a playoff series in the first round one year. And I remember like the Mavericks ended up winning that series, but it was not because they were able to stop Pau Gasol. He was pretty much single handedly keeping Memphis. It felt like in that series, and
yeah,
they nearly won with him, and then they ultimately weren't able to capitalize off of that, and so they ended up having to trade him away to get some young assets back, and so. But I do remember a little bit because that was when I was first starting to get into the game of basketball. Was when he was when he was on the Grizzlies and part of that the playoff matchups that he and the Mavericks had.
speaking of the Mavericks, um, they had some points in times where they were trying to acquire Pau Gasol. I think it was back when he was leaving LA and trying to find a new place to go. Imagine if we had landed Pau Gasol back then when he was, trying to find a new home and became a back-to-back All-Star. In Dirk's later years, we could have had a little bit of help there. Who knows? We could have had some random little, Pau Gasol and Dirk playoff run. That would have been cool.
That would have been really cool. That would have been
Yeah,
really cool to see him as
yeah,
part of that even if he wasn't a part of the team that won it all when we beat the Lakers,
right.
if he'd been in like if I can't beat him, I'm going to join him and shoots off over there instead of after the strike is when I think they spent all that money and they brought in Steve Nash and Dwight Howard if I'm not mistaken, right? And the media anointed them as the first or like the second super team because obviously LeBron, Wade, and Bosch were the first, um, or well, I should say the first of the 2010s, because you could make the argument that it really started with Garnett, Allen, and Pierce in Boston, but they spent all that money to bring in Nash and Howard to add to Kobe and to Gasol, and it looked like they were going to be title contenders like the favorites, and it just never came to fruition.
Pau Gasol finished his career as a top 50 all-time scorer at 47th currently.
Not bad.
and had 20,894 points. And higher on the list for him in the rebounding side of things, 29th all time in rebounds, 11,305.
That makes sense.
Those
He
are
spent he spent the same amount of time in Memphis that he did in LA, Drew. So I wonder if obviously he didn't get the 2 titles or anything like that in Memphis, but I wonder if Memphis also considers him a special, has a special place in their heart for him, and if he'll get his number retired by the Grizzlies at some point as well.
I mean, you got the Grizzlies don't have a whole lot of legendary players to really retire numbers. I mean, they
Yeah.
never won a championship or anything. I don't believe they've ever had an MVP. Not that I know of off the top of my head. But I mean,
Not
he's
yet, at
probably
least.
one of the best players in Memphis history, if not the best scorer in
Yeah.
Grizzlies history. The only people you think of besides Pau Gasol in terms of Grizzlies is Zach Randolph,
Yeah. Zach
Tony
Randolph was
Allen,
good. Hmm.
Mike Conley a little bit.
Conley, yeah.
But I mean, if you're gonna retire anybody, maybe Gasol too. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I think he's worthy of getting his jersey retired by the Grizzlies.
Also, think
Especially,
about this. Think about how many legends have been, playing for the Lakers in the past. You've got Kareem, Magic Johnson, Kobe Bryant, of course. You've had all these, sensational athletes that have come through. Jerry West, all these guys, and Pau Gasol has his number retired in amongst the best of the best. That shows you how good of a player he was with
right?
the Lakers. I mean, it just yeah, and I don't know if you were the same way, Drew, but when I watched him play with the Lakers, I didn't think of him as an all-time great. It really hasn't, dawned on me until I go back now and see how good he really was, that I was like, yeah, this guy definitely deserves it and belongs up there with some of those other Laker legends.
Yeah, I mean, you see the potential, but I mean, it doesn't hit you, when you're watching things at the time, thinking about all-time
Hmm.
greats, aside from the best of the best,
Yeah,
like the
like
Dirks and
like
the
Kobe we
Kobe's,
knew.
and
Yeah,
like, you think about players like Pau Gasol, they're in that like middle ground of like, what's gonna put them over the top to make them that. Without the championships,
yeah,
I don't know if he's getting all that. I don't know if the Lakers are retiring his jersey. I don't
yeah.
know if he's a Hall of Famer. It'd probably be pretty close, but I mean, the
Yeah.
championships and his contribution to both of them definitely kind of helped cement his legacy there and put him
I
in.
I think we could have an argument because I mean, a top 50 scorer all time, a top 20 rebounder, that seems like, maybe not the greatest of the greatest or
Top
anything like
30
that, but
rebounder.
certainly a Hall of Famer and in, with those two categories, even if he hadn't won a title. I mean, it may
Yeah.
not have been first
Okay.
ballot, but I
Right.
think he would have
Yeah.
been.
I mean, he'd have a solid career. I mean, 17-9 for a career.
Yeah,
Pretty good numbers there.
very good.
Pretty good
Yeah,
numbers there. Shout out to Pau Gasol.
absolutely.
And gonna make a shift over to the college ranks here. We had a random, I don't know if you'd say random, but kind of unexpected, uh, ill-timed retirement from a longtime coach in the college ranks. BJ, you're very familiar with Coach Jim Boeheim,
Hmm.
former coach of Syracuse, where they were one-time national champions uh, back in 2003 when
Yeah,
Melo took him there and
Carmelo.
won it
Yeah.
all. Um, just before some March Madness, BJ, and you'd think a coach would be wanting to retire after that time.
Well, Drew, this when they lost, that was pretty much the end of their season. I don't think they're going to be making a tournament run of any kind, and so pretty much the writing was on the wall
Yeah,
for Jim Boeheim.
I
He
think it's been
said
on the
as
wall.
much last weekend, I think, when after the last game of the regular season, and it kind of at the time didn't really get reported on,
Hmm.
but then they go out and they lose in the first round of the ACC tournament, and the season very quickly is over as opposed to getting a chance at the top overall seed in the ACC, which was Miami. trying to keep their season alive and go on that long run that we've seen teams in the past do in these tournament games before. But it was not meant to be, and so for Syracuse, Boeheim had pretty much said, it's not up to me. He didn't think he was coming back, and sure enough, Syracuse confirmed that was it, and that they were, going to go with a younger coach. And honestly, Drew, I don't mean to say this disrespectfully, but I think it was about time. I honestly
Yeah.
do. I think the game has passed Jim Boeheim behind, and I mean, as legendary of a figure as he is, if you're not willing to do the things like Mike Krzyzewski was, like Roy Williams was, to try to keep yourself and your team relevant in this current era of college basketball, Drew Boeheim, just like at the beginning of the season, accused the team that he lost to of having bought their team, with the NIL deals and whatnot. That and Boeheim was not as big of a proponent of it, and that's just not something that you're going to be able to do in this era of any sport in the college game. You've got to have some kind of NIL thing in place, otherwise recruits are not going to give you the time of day.
Yeah. And Q's haven't looked good in the I was gonna say playoffs, but the tournament, and just as a team over the last few years. Anyway, they're not what they used to be.
I think they made like a Sweet 16 or an Elite 8 run.
Yeah, it was something
like
that. I think they made the
2017,
16 when his son was on the team.
Yeah, but that was about it. That kind of came out of nowhere. But
yeah, it was a lucky, lucky time that they made that little run.
They got
too.
hot at the right time, and then
Yeah.
they just they're mad. The slipper was like kicked off and said, "Nope, not today."
Ended quick and hard. Boeheim out there at Syracuse, BJ. He was a head coach for 35 of the school's 41 NCAA tournament appearances, 1,015 of its wins, 5 Final Fours, and that 2003 national championship that I mentioned earlier. He's a 4-time Big East Coach of the Year, TSN Coach of the Year, NABC Coach of the Year, Naismith Coach of the Year, USA Basketball Coach of the Year, AP Coach of the Year, Basketball Times Coach of the Year. Where do you have Coach Boeheim in the all-time college coaching ranks?
Well, I mean, it's tough to because if you're just looking solely at wins, Drew, there's only one man that's ahead of him on the all-time wins list. And that's Mike Krzyzewski, of course, from Duke, who was responsible for over 1,200 victories in his career. But you think about this, he coached 47 years, and he only had one title, and that was probably because of his best ever recruit that he was able to get. He got a lot of wins, but you look at like by winning percentage, he was about 70% of the time he was a winner, but that went down significantly, in the last couple of years. It's been since 2016, Drew, that they made it to the Final Four, and he only did it 5 times in his career. I think he's a very good coach, but I don't think that he's number 2 all time or anything like that. I would say it's pretty fair to put him as one of the 10 best coaches that we've seen in the sport, but I don't put him in the top 5. I don't think that he's the upper tier echelon of success, because you're talking about coaches like Mike Krzyzewski, who's the all-time wins leader, 5 championships. John Wooden's got to be up there for what he did at UCLA. Dean Smith pioneered the 4 corners. Adolph Rupp with his runs at Kentucky. That's already 4. And I'm not putting Jim Boeheim ahead of other guys like Roy Williams and Bill Self and some of these other coaches that we've seen.
Right.
Calipari's probably somewhere up there. I have no problem putting him in the top 10, but to say that he belongs in the top 5, I think is a little bit of a reach.
Right, I agree with you. And BJ is our last bit of topic here on the NBA/men's basketball side of things.
Mm-hmm.
Gilbert Arenas has a Twitter. I don't know if this is a new Twitter or not. I just haven't seen it before, but he had a video earlier, and I was just so intrigued by it because it was such a good question.
Mhm.
But also kind of like, most people will say no, but I just wanted to, bring this up and, see where you stood on this and pose the question to, everybody listening right now. What do you think as well? Uh, the comments from Gilbert Arenas here in this question.
Dirk is not there now, then
if Giannis is Greco
You're
night,
saying like, what if Giannis go get like 2 more, 3 more, like 2 more rings?
Right now it can only be because Dirk is out and he's not in the top. He's not considered top 5, so he's out. Now it's Nash is out. Then it only goes to Greek, Giannis, and Joker, who has the future to try to get there.
or Luka.
Or I mean, that's what I said. Or Luka.
Luka.
Yeah.
Luka and Giannis can get to that level. Like, what's it going to take? Giannis seems like obviously he's closer with the 2 MVPs in the championship. How many more does he need to be amongst that top 5?
Giannis got a chance.
Giannis got a chance.
Sorry, I thought they said it in this video. The question was, then can any European basketball player be top 5 all time? Any of the current ones?
Dirk is not there now, then
if Giannis is Greco
You're
night,
saying like, what if Giannis go get like 2 more, 3 more, like 2 more rings?
Right now it can only be because Dirk is out and he's not in the top. He's not considered top 5, so he's out. Now it's Nash is out. Then it only goes to Greek, Giannis, and Joker, who has the future to try to get there.
Or Luka.
Or I mean, that's what I said. Or Luka.
Luka.
Yeah.
Luka and Giannis can get to that level. Like, what's it going to take? Giannis seems like obviously he's closer with the 2 MVPs in the championship. How many more does he need to be amongst that top 5?
Giannis got a chance.
Giannis got a chance.
Giannis, oh man, I
still think Luka got a chance.
No, that's just based on age and what he's got left. I don't.
Do y'all ever heard LeBron James?
No,
you see how hard it is to get him in the top 3 of these arguments? God damn it!
I'm just saying, and it may not play out like that, but where you looking at Luka's career right now, what he's done already,
top 5
in a limited amount of time. If he can do that for the next 10 to 12,
I think
that's a big if.
5.
No, not.
Because Kobe, LeBron, and Jordan is 3. Period.
Kareem.
And you got to remember, some people don't even have Kobe in the top 5, which is they need to be drug tested anyway. So you got them 3.
Magic.
There's only 2 more spots.
Steph is gonna be in there.
As I said, you only got 2 more spots. Then you got KD coming on. Nope.
Okay.
Not in the next.
No. Okay. All right, never then. Unless this Victor kid unless this Victor kid come in and be who he say.
I saw this over on Twitter, BJ, and I had to ponder the question. Just thinking about the perennial players that we have in the league right now. Dirk's not considered a top 5 player already. Neither is Nash, like they said. But can Luka get there? He's starting the All-Star and All-NBA thing really early. If you add some championships and MVPs in there with it, which LeBron didn't add until about 4 years into the league, and that's when the first MVP or first trip to the finals came, and then the MVPs right after, and then later a championship. Nearly, 8 seasons into the league. So he's got time. Yeah, and if he just keeps being a perennial All-Star and one of the best in the league, I can see it. Giannis has got the best head start right now.
Yeah.
He's not going to have the thickest resume as far as All-Star appearances, probably just because it didn't start off immediately like that for him. But, it's 2 MVPs, Defensive Player of the Year, Finals MVP, championship. It's a pretty good start to getting in that top 5 conversation. He's the only one, accolade-wise right now that has a chance because, I don't think either of those other 2 are going to get a Defensive Player of the Year. So, he's got a partial up on them. If he just keeps doing it, health-wise, just to kind of finish out his career for what, his type of game can do, which, what do you give prime Giannis? 4 more good years of that? So, if you do that 4 more good years, 1 more championship, maybe an MVP or Defensive Player of the Year, could be in the cards in one of those years. Who knows? But I think if anybody had a chance, it would probably be him as of right now. I don't think he will get there though. And Jokic, he's got 2 MVPs but no championships. Some All-Star appearances.
I was gonna say if he wins if he's the first to three-peat, Obviously we're both in agreement that LeBron probably should have three-peated back in the day and didn't because of voter fatigue. But if he's the first, three-time MVP in Lord knows how long. In fact, I don't
Did Jordan
remember.
three-peat?
That feels like it would be the correct answer, but I don't know. We'll need to.
I feel like if the answer is no, then it
It would
Wilt?
be Bill Russell, maybe.
Did Bird three-peat? He's got 3. Did he get them all in a row? I don't know.
I don't think so because I feel like it was like
Oh,
Bird Magic, or something like that.
maybe.
I just so
But yeah,
if he
it's
adds
hard.
if he adds a couple championships, maybe. But at the
Yeah.
same time, what are we? We don't have a watermark as to what separates some guys like KD, Steph, potentially Giannis, Luka, Jokic, or even Wembanyama.
It's
Or
a
whatnot.
bunch of accolades, I mean, you got to have a
Yeah.
bunch of stuff, 4 championships.
Yeah, that's that's
from
where
Steph
the
Curry
top
and
3 are, and
yeah, and
that's
being the
where Steph
all-time
Curry is.
and being the all-time best shooter in the world and everything that Steph's got
But
on his
is that
resume.
automatically enough to put him top 5? I mean, I
I
don't
mean,
think there's
like
any snuff at being in the top 10.
I mean, is Steph Curry not the best point guard all time right now? Probably.
I mean, probably, but at the same time, where somebody that wasn't even mentioned in that clip, where's Bill Russell? I know that,
Yeah.
he doesn't get
I know.
mentioned nearly enough, not just because of his 11 championships, but he was a physical force to be reckoned with back in the
I
days.
know, and
Obviously, he
especially if you
doesn't
watch
stack up with the stats, but still.
And especially if you watch the documentary on Netflix, you get a look back of what Bill and Wilt were doing, and Wilt as
Yeah.
well. That's why
Yeah.
I was, saying, trying to expand it. Maybe not top 5, but I think top 10 might be reasonable for all 3 of them. But I think
Mm-hmm.
top 5 is just a coveted spot. That's just you have to be like Luka's career would have to go perfectly for him to get there. And if it
Yeah.
goes
And
perfectly with
as
multiple championships and MVPs, then he might could do it, and it's still just a might because like Gilbert said, like you just see what LeBron had to do to get in a top 3 conversation. There's not many spots that are there. I mean, I don't know if I
yeah.
necessarily agree with the Kobe thing in everybody's top 5, but let's just say that's right. Jordan,
Yeah.
LeBron, Kobe secured in a top 3 of the 5 here.
They all should be in the top 3, top
Right,
5.
like who are the other 2? Like there's so many names that you can mention to be in the top 5 with those 3. Like you said, Bill Russell, Wilt, Bird, Shaq, Duncan.
Yeah.
So many
Yeah.
players that you can get. Magic. Just keep rolling through names um, of guys that are fighting themselves to actually be in the top 10. So I mean, it's just a mixed bag of players, and you bring in current players, KD and Steph, as well,
Yeah.
and then if you've got all those 3 in a mix too, trying to get the top 10, do they all have a chance for it? I don't know at that point because like
I
who do
mean,
you bump
it's
out of
you're
those
you're
legends? Like, do you bump out
yeah.
Wilt for Jokic? I mean, maybe if he's got 3 MVPs, triple double season, gets a
All in a row.
championship.
I
I don't.
mean,
Yeah, like I don't know. Like probably not, just because Wilt was crazy and did a whole bunch of crazy stuff. But yeah, the top 5 conversation is just a hard one to enter. GOAT is pretty much impossible now. Like I
by the
said,
way,
if Luka's career went
you
perfect, though, I mean, who knows?
you were right. Larry Bird did win all 3 of his
He
back
did.
to back to
He
back,
did.
and he's the
Okay.
last to do it. The only 3 players that have done it, Drew, are Bird, Chamberlain, Russell. Which
Do you think?
feel
I mean,
like
like, all,
those 3 guys should be in that consideration too.
yeah, like look at that exclusive company. Like, how do you go? How do you three-peat as an MVP and not get put in a top
In a
10?
top 5, yeah.
Like immediately, like you're inserted in a top 10 conversation probably at that
Exactly.
point. A
Yeah.
three-peat MVP, like yeah, like you're here.
Yeah.
Maybe. I kind of want to get
Yeah.
some takes on that, guys. Anybody that's listening right now, like, what will a three-peat or at MVP for Jokic do? Is that an automatic plug into your top 10? Or does he have to have a championship on top of it? Do those 3 MVPs, would they not matter without a championship cherry on top?
Yeah.
Um,
And to answer the initial question, because I don't think I did, out of those guys mentioned, I think Giannis is probably the closest. I think Luka could have things go perfectly well for him, but I mean, I'm really worried about his injuries now. I mean, they're coming, more and more, and not as seemingly severe, thank goodness. But
Luka's just got to
it's
do what
definitely
Jordan did, get in the
it's
gym and
def-
just.
yeah, it's definitely something to worry about going forward. Is that he's going to miss time. That's going to ding him in terms of trying to get those accolades like the MVP. Maybe he's able to get a championship even still, regardless of that. But is he going to be able to get 3 or 4 and maybe an MVP or 2? That would be enough maybe to put him up there. I don't know if it would be. So it's going to be a very interesting to watch all that take place. But I think out of those guys mentioned, it's probably Giannis or bust.
And now it's time for BJ's Best.
All right. Well, thank you, Drew. I was kind of, scratching my head, fixing my hair or whatever kind of deal. Trying to figure out what I could do for this edition of BJ's Best. And, I've been on and on watching all kinds of college basketball action this week. It's been, a jam-packed weekend, or a jam-packed week full of great finishes and upsets, as conference tournaments always seemingly are. But Drew, do you happen to know what tomorrow is when we release this episode to all our fine listeners on your favorite podcast platform?
Should I know the answer to this?
Yeah, you probably should. Today's
man.
Thursday, tomorrow's Friday, but I'm not meaning the day of the week. You know what tomorrow is?
Groundhog? No.
No, that was last month.
Okay.
Unless you're caught in a time loop like Bill Murray was, but maybe.
No, I don't know.
No, so tomorrow is March the 10th, and
I
AKA Drew.
knew that.
Well, that's what I was asking. Tomorrow's March 10th, and the ramifications behind that is that it's Super Mario Day. MAR10.
Okay.
So, as in honor of Super Mario Day, coinciding with us dropping an episode of The Lowdown, I found this list of the best Mario games that have been released all time, and it's a pretty thorough list. It's got, I think it ranks all of the Mario games that have come out all time from back the very first one to now, because it's got 20 plus games that have been released. I'm gonna go ahead and just go down to the top 10. So we'll see if you've played the games or if you kind of know what to make of them, and how you feel about them.
Okay.
So we're going to start off with, I'm going to start off with number 11 because this one surprises me. Number 11 is the one that started it all off, the original Super Mario Brothers, released back in 1985. Doesn't crack the top 10.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's a bit tough. So,
It's an old game.
Yeah, I was going to say, you played that one?
At some point in time, I am sure.
Yeah. And you liked it? Had a fun time with it?
Man, I can't remember, to be honest with you. That's an old game. I don't remember.
Yeah,
There's a whole bunch of
old,
Mario
I mean,
games.
if you like the Mario games, either that or you don't.
Yeah.
But so that's number 11. It doesn't quite crack the top 10.
Okay.
What does crack the top 10 at number 10 is the Game Boy game Super Mario Land 2 6 Golden Coins. It came out in 1992. It's a Game Boy game. You ever play that one?
I don't think so.
No.
On my Game Boy, I think I only had Pokemon on my Game Boy.
Okay. I didn't even have a Game Boy, so I didn't play any of these Game Boy games that were on here. But no, I wasn't cool enough to have a Game Boy back in the day, so apparently. But we're gonna move on. Number 9 is the Wii U version, or sorry, the Wii U game Super Mario Maker. Came out back in 2015.
Definitely not. Never owned a Wii. Never owned a Wii.
So, yeah, this is not just a Wii; it's a Wii U. It's the more like the newer.
Never owned a Wii anything.
Nothing Wii anything, huh?
Wii. It's only Wii I own.
I was gonna say this one was kind of allowed you to create your own levels of Super Mario, and so it
Okay.
was pretty cool and unique at that time. So that is something that is interesting to check out. Number 8 is its sequel that came out in 2019, Super Mario Maker 2 from the Nintendo Switch.
Never owned a Nintendo Switch, unfortunately.
Never owned a Nintendo
I
Switch.
would like one, to
Hmm.
be honest. Switch would be
I've heard a
cool.
lot of good things. I'd like one as well.
I want Apex on it. That's what I want. That's what I want. I kind of want.
But-
There's something out called a Steam Deck too, but I think that's a little too much for me. But
that
they're
might be it a
all
little
them
bit.
little handheld things are expensive.
Yeah, they really
They're all
are.
expensive.
I was trying to get a Switch back in when COVID first started because my friends had some and they wanted to play games with me and
Yeah.
I was like, I can't find them anywhere. How did you guys get them? And so, but anyway, so Super Mario Maker 2 even added an actual story to story mode as opposed to just kind of allowing you to create your own levels and story and everything like that. So
Okay.
that comes in at number 8. Number 7 is another one. This is actually a newer one than that. It is Super Mario 3D World and Bowser's Fury from the Nintendo Switch. Came out in 2021. You ever played
Definitely
this?
not.
No. So
Too,
I hadn't
too-
even heard of it, Drew. I had
Yeah,
not
me
heard of
either.
this one.
I'm not
but-
up to date on the latest Super Mario's.
I'm not either. I didn't know that they had they'd come out with anything beyond the second Mario Maker.
Yeah,
So,
my gamer habits have changed since my Super Mario findings. I'm
mhm.
more of a pew pew guy.
You're more of a pew pew guy. That makes
Pew pew.
sense. Well, I bet you played this back in the day, perhaps. Number 6, released in 1996 for the Nintendo 64. It's Super Mario 64.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that one is one of the
Mhm.
iconic games from the
Oh,
Nintendo
yeah.
64.
Got
So
in some fights over that game.
yeah, and there's also obviously you can kind of emulate it, or you can get a copy if you have a Nintendo Switch of Super Mario 64. Number 5 is another Nintendo Switch game, Super Mario Odyssey. It came out in 2017. I've heard of this. I had not
Man.
played it, but
Missing out on the cool stuff, I guess.
I guess I was gonna say there a lot of cool stuff that's come out more recently than you'd
Yeah,
think.
and they're in the top 10 so far, so they got to be the best. Jeez.
Must be best of the best.
Yeah.
Number 4, Super Mario Galaxy 2 came out on the Nintendo Wii in 2010.
Nope.
You did not have a
I
Wii.
might have played
so-
that at Walmart or something back when they
You
still
might
had
have.
the TVs and the controllers sticking out.
Yeah, I remember those days.
Oh,
You
man.
probably played this one at
What a
the TV at
time.
Walmart back in the day, because this one is also from the Nintendo Wii. Number 3, Super Mario Galaxy, the first one, came out in 2007. It may have been the
Mhm.
initial game that was released from the Nintendo
That
Wii.
was like right around when the Wii was coming out. Yeah. I was in middle school.
Yeah, I remember when it came out, but I
Man,
didn't
that's-
have a Wii, so
That's crazy how times have changed, BJ. No more TVs up in the electronics section with the controller out for you to play.
yeah. It
Or do
really
they
is
have them
crazy.
in some places? I don't know. I haven't seen them.
I don't think they do, Drew.
I
I
don't
don't
go in
think that there's
electronics
any
much anymore.
I don't think you can test it before you buy it anymore. Like they used to
Man.
have the demos or whatnot. And
That was
They just
it,
don't.
dude. That's where kids used to
That was
live.
the-
Like, you just dump your kid
Yeah,
off
that-
right there and go shop around Walmart and go back and pick them up a half hour later when you're done or whatever. That's what I did. I was just,
Yeah,
okay.
exactly. That
All
was
right.
fun for the kids so that they didn't have to suffer through walking around the store and being a nuisance or anything like that. But
Right. Literally just in
so,
rotation
yeah.
on the games up there on the walls
mean,
and stuff.
that's when the Madden games were back in the day when they were actually really good and they had the demo deal. And it was like, I made the decisions like, okay, I'm going to buy this Madden now because I actually enjoyed the demo. So
Yeah, plenty of stuff for us to do.
absolutely. Number 2, another original classic from the NES, released in 1990, Super Mario Brothers 3. Now, this one is mentioned as one of the best all time, not just
Oh, yeah.
as a Mario game, but this one, I think this is a very fair take to have this one above the original. Maybe not
Oh,
some of the other ones that I hadn't played, but this
Yeah.
one for sure.
Yeah, this is that good stuff, BJ. It's
And
right.
the only other game
only one that beat
that
it.
topped that, number 1 on this list, the Super Nintendo Super Mario World, released in 1991. That was the debut appearance of Yoshi and one of the best of the best all-time Mario games. It was one of the ones released initially with the Super Nintendo, and I mean, as good as 64 was, as good as Super Mario Brothers 1 and 2, or 1 and 3, I should say, because 2 kind of, with the reviews of it. But I think this one does very easily have a good case to be made that it's the best of the best.
No complaints here.
So we got some Mario games to try out at some point so that we can give a better take on the list ourselves. But I didn't have really a complaint with some of the games listed. I just think that putting the original outside the top 10 is kind of criminal in my opinion.
Right?
They've got to be really good games on the Switch and the Wii to top out the original. For if it hadn't been for the original, we wouldn't have the newest games that are available now. So,
I mean, fair, but also when you think about games, I've got some game like Halo. I think 3 and 2 are better than the original.
The first one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably the same with any genre. Like the Final Fantasies, the Mega Mans.
Final Fantasy's got a punch, I think. Though.
Yeah, sometimes the best games are like the last games that they made as opposed to the first games they made.
Yeah.
So I guess that can be the case. It's just as iconic as the original is, to not have it in the top 10 doesn't feel right to me, at least. So, but happy Mario Day, at least a little bit early for us as we record this on Thursday. But tomorrow is Super Mario Day on March 10th. So that is BJ's Best, Drew.
Wonderful, sir. I appreciate your segment today. You NBA fans out there, it's time to bring that hoops action back to the palms of your hands again. If you've had them in there this whole time, they're probably kind of sweaty, so you might want to sit that down, wipe your hands off for a second, pick it back up, and get it back in the palm of your hands.
Knees weak, arms are heavy?
With DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. This week, new customers like you can bet that little bitty $5. So win $200 in bonus bets instantly.
That's right, Drew. Obviously, some big time matchups on tap this weekend. You can look no further than Friday's action tipping off on NBA TV. You've got a matchup between the Cavs and the Heat. Cleveland is the favorite, and that's who I'm going with. I was pretty good on my picks last week, Drew. I think I did accurately tell you to buy stock in the Knicks beating the Celtics on Sunday night. What I didn't expect was the Nets to top the Celtics after being down by 28 points. So I hope you didn't lose any money on that game. Also, the Lakers playing well. They're playing at home against Toronto. I don't know what to make of this one. My advice is stay away from that game, at least.
Give me the Lakers.
I think I'm leaning Lakers.
This has been going crazy.
I know.
Lakers have been winning big games.
I'm definitely leaning Lakers, but I would just kind of hesitate.
Are you afraid of Jacob Poeltl? Is that what it is?
I'm not afraid to take a stand, and
I
don't get it. I don't get a good read from it, Drew. So I don't bet anything that I don't get a good read from.
Fair enough.
Including Saturday's game, I've got a really good feeling about Milwaukee. Even on the road in Golden State, I'm going to take the Bucks to continue their winning ways, and then on Sunday, the marquee matchup, I'm going to take the Knicks on the road in LA to take down the Lakers. That's why I didn't want to bet necessarily just yet on the Lakers against Toronto. I feel like they've got the better chance of winning that game than they do on Sunday. But it's no harm, no foul, Drew, if you bet with DraftKings, because you can get a no sweat same game parlay every day for a limited time, all new and existing. So it doesn't matter if you're brand new to DraftKings or if you've been there for years. What you do is you go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app today, you opt in, place a same game parlay on any NBA game, and if it doesn't hit, well, you'll just get a bonus bet right back in your pocket for you to use on tomorrow's action.
Download the app now and sign up with code TBPN. New customers can bet $5 on the NBA and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA, with code TBPN.
Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. All right, Drew, before we get a look at that WNBA national TV broadcast schedule that was just unveiled the other day, it's time to see what is on Drew's mind, folks.
Well, what's on my mind, BJ, is what is usually on most people's minds sometimes when people are doing things that irritate them. What are those little bitty things that people can do that you don't like? That
Pet peeves?
yes, indeed, pet peeves.
Pet peeves.
Going through the most common pet peeves, and we want to see if we can go through and find some of BJ's pet peeves, and we can analyze some of mine. I'm sure we're gonna run through
Okay.
some of them
I know
in
I know
this
we found one last week. I
in
know
this
we
mess
found one
list.
last week. You got that people walking slow or driving slow in front of you. You go, ah!
Yep, not a fan of it. All right, got a list here, and if you don't know what a pet peeve is, we'll give the definition. Official definition of a pet peeve is something that a particular person finds especially annoying. So I was essentially on the right track. But there are
Mm,
many universal pet peeves, especially for those who work in office settings. According to an article from Psychology Today, the top three pet peeves for American employees in 2020 were malfunctioning / slow computers and software, when coworkers didn't wash their hands after using the restroom, and when
oh,
coworkers came into work sick, respectively. But these three things are just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to what really annoys people. Now, the biggest
yeah.
and most common pet peeves, BJ. There's a lot of them. I don't think we'll go through all of them, but depending on how entertaining it is, we might.
Well, I'll put the bright white pearly chops in, and we'll see if we can get something that irritates me.
All right. Chewing sounds, noises, like chewing aloud.
I mean, mm, it's a bit annoying, but it's not something that like crawls up my skin, if you know what I mean. Like,
Right. You wouldn't
I
consider that one of your pet peeves.
no,
Right.
I would probably, I mean, it maybe a little bit irks me because I was told, always chew with your mouth closed and, you
Hmm.
know, be polite and respectful, but it's not something that I necessarily am going to pay attention to. Cause I mean, I'm probably just, enjoying my food and not paying attention to what the other sounds around the table are being made kind of deal. So,
There's actually also a condition for that, for people who don't like the chewing noises sounds. It's called misophonia, which causes
hmm,
people to have strong reactions to specific sounds. People with misophonia can become frustrated or even enraged by repetitive eating sounds.
interesting.
Indeed. Another common pet peeve, repetitive tapping. This one you might be more related to back when you were in school, BJ. You might have had a kid that did this in class, tapped his pencil or his pen on his desk. Um,
Yeah. I
or
don't.
somebody, or like, people shake their leg or tap their foot
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
table.
I think I'm a little bit guilty of this. Honestly, it doesn't bother me because I might do it without even thinking about it, just subconsciously. Just
Anxiety.
yeah, anxiety definitely is part of it. So I apologize if I've offended anybody by shaking the leg or tapping on the computer. Even I won't tap on the microphone because that might be a little too irritating, but.
Mm,
But yeah, it doesn't bother me as much as you might think.
all right. Another pet peeve, BJ. Can you guess what this next one is? Well, maybe it's
Um,
this right here. Exactly, BJ. It's interrupting during a conversation, even though you were just
nice,
talking to me, I
nice
guess. But
play, nicely
interrupting.
played.
We all know someone who won't let us get 3 words in before they're already talking about something else over us. It can be pretty darn annoying, that's for sure.
I hope
Uh,
I hope I'm not guilty of this. I feel like I might be.
I am. This is one of my pet peeves for sure, and I know I do this to other people too. I'm
I think
sorry
it's I think
in
it's tough
advance.
when we do a show like this where it almost feels like at times you might be, but it's not intended that way.
Right. So like in person, I don't intentionally do. I try to let them stop before I cut in, but
Yeah,
I have something to say. So like the urge to interrupt somebody when they're talking is there.
yeah.
So I sometimes do that, but it's definitely a pet peeve for me to like be talking and be cut off. Like, ugh. because I hate repeating myself, and I don't want to have to do that because some of that stuff I might not even remember. So
Yes. Yeah,
just let me speak.
absolutely. Absolutely. And for me, it's like, I try, if you're a broadcaster, you can relate to this,
Oh
where it's like,
man.
somebody's making a point, and then, the next play's happening and they're still talking, and you're like, yeah, you got
Oh
to
my
convey
gosh.
what's going on, but you also
Yeah.
don't want to interrupt them. And so it's like, do I be nice, or do I, like describe the play that's going on, like
I'll cut through
it's
them.
yeah. And so,
Justin will be
yeah.
yapping too. I just like, and he takes us down, running left side, breaks a tackle. Like, we got to get back to this.
I will
What
say,
you're saying probably isn't even too important to be extra rambling on. So get back to the football.
I will say, when I did a filled in for a basketball game a couple weeks ago, in the high school playoffs here in Texas, and I was doing color, and I'd never done color commentary, especially not for basketball before. I'm used to being in that chair, and so that was my biggest worry, was taking away the spotlight from our play-by-play guy, and thankfully this was a video broadcast as opposed to just being audio. So I could, pick and choose kind of like where I was talking and try to make my point, as not cutting myself off, but trying to be quick and not using as many words to make the same point as I would, kind of as a play-by-play guy, trying to get the thought out and step back so that the action can be, unless we're having a conversation. There's certain, little differences, but
Right.
I think it went pretty well, honestly.
Yeah. I only caught myself overstepping once when I did it for Commerce on ESPN, but
Mm-hmm.
I definitely knew when I was doing it because I was like, "Oh my god, I'm talking too much," and just in my head, I'm like,
It's
"That was a
it's
while."
tough. It's tough if you're a play-by-play guy to get into that other mindset, the other chair, and
Yeah,
think
especially after
like
you
that.
just did it the night before, and
Yeah,
it had been like
yeah,
12 hours later, and then you're just switching seats.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
But anyway, back to the list. There's quite a bit here. There's 70, so we're not going to get through them all,
Ooh,
especially now. So let's
sorry.
jump to some ones that might qualify for a pet peeve for sure. Um, okay, so throat clearing or coughing noises. So just like
I don't get irritated by that unless it's just like over the top and multiple times. Like if it happens once, you can easily like, but if it's like almost deliberate or whatever, and then it's like, would you just shut up? So
leaving drawers and cabinets open. Dresser
no,
drawers, cabinets in the
I
kitchen.
yeah, thankfully nobody around here does
I
that.
think
I
it's
think
definitely something that would qualify
we
as
would
a pet peeve for my mom.
yeah, we would have gotten smacked if we had, and I don't think so. It wasn't like something that my pet peeve, but it may have been like my grandma's or something like that
Yeah.
back in the day.
Scraping silverware, like scraping it on a plate. Like
Oh,
down,
like if you're eating
like
a bowl of yogurt or a bowl of ice cream or whatever, and
yeah, like
and
whatever, like or if you're like I don't know, eating a steak or some chicken, or you're like down to the bit, and it's like just making the scraping sounds on your
mm,
plate, or
yeah,
or on your teeth. People who play with the just do that with their silverware, I guess.
mm-hmm. that
Um, yeah.
that doesn't bother me as much as you think it might, but
Yeah. Uh, here we go. Driving too slow.
you definitely said that was
That's
something
me.
that bugs you.
That's me.
I do get a little bit irritated at times. It just depends on like, if I'm out and I'm not in a hurry to get where I'm going, then it probably won't bother me as much as like if I'm, trying to get somewhere and I feel like I'm running late, even if I'm not. And it's just like everybody conspires against you. And it's like, oh, that person's in a hurry, must directly go slow in front of them.
And speaking of cars in front of them, driving too close to the car in front. That definitely qualifies in my driving
It
pet peeve.
just depends. Like for
Well,
me,
just when
I
you
don't.
drive in the Dallas area as much as we do, or I mean,
Yeah,
definitely as much as I do,
that happens,
like
and
it
I
just
try
always.
not to, but it's like, you want to give yourself enough space that you're not going to like rear end them or whatnot, but you also don't want to give too much space that you're going to get honked at with people behind you. It's a delicate balance.
I don't even like brake checking people anymore because people in Dallas are crazy. They'll hit the gas when you brake check. Like, whoa!
Yeah,
You're
what the heck are
literally
you
going to go
doing?
faster. Why are you going faster? You're insane.
It's like it's like no insurance, not my problem.
People who talk during the movies, whether it be
Yeah,
the person beside them about the movie or on the phone during the movie.
Oh, absolutely no go with people on the phone. Like if you like whisper or something, because I mean I've done that before where I'll like, especially if I miss something or whatnot, I'll say like, "What did I miss?"
Yeah.
Or
even texting on the phone is annoying because like the bright light in the dark theater
yeah,
for the people behind them is just distracting.
yeah.
You know, I try to just keep my phone in my pocket. It seems like every time I'm in a movie though is when my phone goes off the most. When it's supposed to just stay in my pocket and just not be going off and all that. But yeah, I mean it gets annoying. Like I don't like when people talk during the movie, especially. If you're going back to watch it a second time, people may not care as much, but
Well,
they
unless
don't know it's
they
the
hadn't
second
seen
time.
it the first time,
Right, like somebody who hasn't seen a movie is not gonna like to not, be able to hear every bit of
Yeah.
dialogue and be distracted by somebody like just asking a question. What does that mean? What did he say when they were going to the
Yeah.
is he a good guy or a bad guy? Where did he
Yeah,
say he was
I think
from?
I think that's more of a like conversation that can be had when you can pause it, like watching it at home or whatever. You can
I don't
you can
like
do
that.
that.
I don't like
Uh,
that either. Like, and it's definitely a women
I
thing.
would I would
It's
give
definitely a
more of a
women.
pass if that's when it happened.
It's definitely a women thing though, and I hate it. Like they'll do it about TV shows too. Like I don't care if it's a TV show and it's 20 minutes or it's 40 minutes. Stop pausing it. I want to keep watching it. You can ask when it's over. Ask when it's over between episodes. Ask a question, but not after the
It's
first
like
10 minutes where it's
then
like just
what
getting
if you
good. Like
don't remember it by then?
sorry, so it
Yeah.
wasn't important enough. It didn't make
No,
it to
but
the end.
I was gonna say, yeah, I'm not as upset by it, but when I've been at like Marvel movies in the past, like especially like opening night or whatever, that seems
Mhm.
like it's the most that happens. Like the most times I've ever seen, like people talking or whatever, like in theaters or on their phones, is when it's like the premiere of a Marvel movie. Like I don't understand that.
Unsolicited advice and recommendations. Like people giving their opinion that you did not ask for.
That doesn't bother me. I mean, they're entitled to their opinion. I'm also entitled to not give a crap.
Oh,
That's like,
and
give a what?
mhm.
But no, I
Um,
mean, I don't. Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. It just, it's like you're welcome to think that way, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I feel that way. So
slow walkers. This is right in line with slow drivers, ladies and gentlemen.
that's what we just talked about last week. I feel like.
Check it off.
I mean, it just really like again with the driving. If I'm in a hurry or something, that's kind of, I try not to, like if I'm out somewhere and there's somebody walking slow, I try to get around them without, getting irritated by it. But if you can't, you just kind of just have to, hold your breath and have some patience.
Smacking gum.
That can be annoying. That can be a little bit annoying.
Yeah,
But I
Johnny.
don't.
Did you see when
Yeah,
we up here
yeah,
last week? We hit a
yeah.
home run, yeah. Man, those Seattle Mariners, they're
Go
finally
go
making the
go
playoffs.
crack it out of the park there, Johnny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Bad tippers. People who treat waiters badly are always bad news, and bad tippers are often the same people. If you're putting down less than the typical 18 to 20%, some people have a real issue with it, and rightfully so.
I mean it doesn't. I haven't worked in the service industry, so
Me neither.
I probably would have a different feeling about this if if I had been in the service industry or whatnot. I normally, I try not to, tip lower than the average unless it's just really, really bad. And even then, you feel like it's a little bit bad for doing that. But at the same time, it's like, you only can give so much when you're getting so much bad in return, kind of deal. You know what does annoy me though? Speaking of
Okay.
tipping, I will say this, and this is something that's pretty new. Why should I have to give a tip when you're at an event and all you did was turn around, grab an empty cup, and put it under the spigot and got me my drink? Why should I tip for that? You know,
Oh, I don't
it's
do
not
that.
going to go to the person like that cooked the food or whatever. If I tip when I get a burger and fries or whatever at the ball game,
Mhm.
I can't pick that. So why should I be expected, like, especially if I'm only just getting drinks? That's
Right.
what irks me.
Yeah. Next up, and we're getting down to the last few here, rounding it out. Talking over people.
I mean, maybe because I grew up in a family with teachers that you kind of have to at times. I don't get irritated by it, but I try not to if I can help it.
Meetings that should have been an email. I'm definitely in on this one. Like, there's
Yeah,
no
that
point in
that
going and sitting down, wasting time for about a half hour to an hour just about something that you could have stuffed into an email and sent to all.
as many times as there's been things like that just could have been an email. I'm irked by that. Yeah.
Drives me nuts. Using text to speech in public. I know this is something that my mom is probably guilty of. I think she probably does it more in the car though. But well, this text to speech stuff, it's not super annoying though on my part. I really don't care. I don't.
Yeah, I
But
don't get annoyed by it, especially like if it's just in the car or whatever. Like, you can, as long as it's not somebody like right next to you and like there's nobody around, but and they're still doing it instead of just like typing. That might be what irritates me, but I don't get irritated like somebody doing it out in public because I just think they're on the phone, even if they're like not on the phone, but they're holding it up and talking, and then they put it back down or whatever. Doesn't matter to me.
people who don't know their order when they get to the front of the drive-through.
Depends on how long the line is. I can give a little bit
Online
more
or in a
leeway.
hurry.
I mean, in a hurry, probably a little bit more irritated by it. But if I've been waiting a while, I mean, some places you can't really see the menu until you get up there, and if you got to figure it out. But you know, most of the time, if it's a long line and if I'm in a hurry or whatnot, I might just look and go somewhere else instead, rather than deal with that, or park and go in and order it to go.
I think we'll go ahead and end it right there. Yeah, that's. I
Yeah,
couldn't
I
find
think
another
that's a
good
good stopping place.
another good one to go with, unless you want to consider chewing on ice. There's a pen.
I mean, that doesn't bother me.
Right.
So
Just some rinky-dink things. Well, that was what's on Drew's mind today. A lot of little rinky-dink pet peeves. I'm sure there's some we missed that you don't think about that you'll probably happen to run into tomorrow and be like, ah, I wish you'd have said this one.
I
This is
can't
definitely a pet peeve of
absolutely.
mine. When the
Yeah.
waiter doesn't come back and refill my salsa when it's obviously empty, I hate that. That gets on my
No, I
nerves.
mean that it's like that goes into going back. Like if somebody's not attentive or whatever, and it's like not even something that is like required, but just like kind of if you come to the table, you see that the drinks are low, and you just don't think that maybe I should go get some water and ask if they'd like some more, and
Yeah.
you just let them sit there and wait. That might irk me, but that again, I think that goes into deserving less of a tip.
Attentiveness and effort. I'd be grading a waiter or a waitress. I'd be like,
Mm.
hey, I definitely eat a lot of salsa. Like you can see that this was gone in like 2 minutes. I could use a refill. You know what I'm saying? If
Yeah.
you don't come back and see how our food is. No, I'm just kidding. I don't have like a list that I run down, but it's just a case by case
No.
thing. If you dump off my food and forget about me for a half hour, then oh my gosh, we were waiting there. We've been done for 10 minutes. What's going on? Then
Yeah.
maybe I'll
That
dock
might be
50 cents off of your tip, ma'am.
that might be the biggest problematic thing, but interesting stuff. I love the psychology behind it, Drew. And
And
you
that's
know what's
what's
a
on
pet
Drew's
peeve
mind.
of mine, Drew? I was trying to use that as a transition. A pet peeve of mine is that There's going to only be 25 regular season broadcasts of WNBA games on the ESPN family networks instead of more. Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
only 25.
Only 25. I mean, it's a good number, but it could have been higher. So that's what the network announced just yesterday, that being Wednesday, and it will be highlighted by Brittany Griner's return to the WNBA with the Phoenix Mercury. Drew, as Phoenix is going to be taking on the Sparks in LA when the season tips off on May the 19th. So that is the first of the 25 games that will be aired, as well as network airing playoff games as they have in the past, and the WNBA All-Star Game will be in prime time in Vegas on July the 15th at 8:30 Eastern Time. So, do we want to go through some of these games and kind of pick out which ones are, the ones that we're most excited for, Drew?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of big matchups in here, and um, games that you're gonna want to see. Like anytime you see a Vegas or Vegas versus New York on the schedule, you want to pencil that in
Absolutely,
to
yeah.
to watch that. And that's going to be on August 28th is when they're going to be matching up on national TV. August 6th and 28th. As a matter of
Yeah,
fact, is their matchups on national TV. New York's got quite a bit of matchups as well as Washington does. Dallas Wings got
as you'd
4 this
expect,
year. Wings only had 1 national TV game last year. They got 4 now this
which is
year.
good. Which is
One
good.
being the opener, going to
Mm-hmm.
be on ABC. The first one of the season that's on ABC, actually. Um,
Yeah,
the
part of
initial.
a
Go
I
ahead.
was going to say part of a doubleheader that day. In
Yes.
fact, with Alicia Gray coming back to Dallas to start the season, and then Seattle's going to be hosting the Aces, the defending champs, to start the year. A rematch of the WNBA semifinals and the first look at the Storm without Sue Bird, without Brianna Stewart, and so many of the others that have been such a big part of their success in the past. Jewel Lloyd obviously is returning, but um, it's going to be a different look for Seattle for sure.
Dallas definitely going to have their hands full with Atlanta, like they did last year in the opener when
Mm-hmm.
Ryan Howard had quite the debut, and now they've got Alicia Gray over there. So it's going to be a battle of the guards out there, and we'll see what Big T and Howard and Satu can do against this dream team.
Yeah,
Uh,
and speaking of Brianna Stewart, Drew, both of her games against her former team are going to be on the ESPN family of networks.
mhm.
Liberty and Storm will clash in Seattle on May the 30th. That's going to be an ESPN2 broadcast at 9 p.m. Eastern. And then they'll square off in New York July 8th. That's an ESPN 1:30 Eastern time start. I guess that's a weekend game. Also, Phoenix is going to be hosting the Chicago Sky. That's a rematch of the finals from 2 years ago now on May 21st, that Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time.
Got a host of good games, BJ. Another matchup I like in here: Washington and Seattle. I don't know if you slid that one in, but they're going to be matching up on June 11th. That's a former championship matchup, I believe. The 2020, no, 2018.
Maybe something like that.
One of
Yeah.
those I'm forgetting, but they that's going to be a good one. Coming back up, even though Seattle not as loaded as what they used to be. Who knows what version of Seattle we'll be getting right there, but um, an old matchup nonetheless. Washington and New York. Um, the All Star game, as you mentioned earlier, on ABC on July 15th at 7:30 Central our time.
Yeah.
Um, man, there's a lot of matchups, and we still got some things to go on. So like some of these matchups are like they look good, but like some could be more enticing here in a month and a half. When the
Yeah.
draft goes down, we see what teams look like, who makes it through training camp, who got drafted where, and whatnot. The only real key additions that are going to make differences in what they're doing is probably the top five. You definitely. I mean, the lottery is open, kind of a toss up, just depending on who goes where if teams keep picks. I mean, if Dallas drafts all three of theirs, then they might keep just one of those players just because, I mean, not much room, or they'll end up,
Yeah.
letting go former top picks, which they seem to have no problem with because they'll just get more. It's okay.
hmm And the
But
cycle continues.
yeah, and we'll see what and not to mention on this national TV schedule, got some Connecticut games. Seeing what Connecticut looks like this year, without
Yeah.
Coach Kurt Miller, no John Quell, being led by Alyssa Thomas, DeWanna Bonner, and Bree Jones, with the addition of Ty Harris at point guard out there, and how that unit looks. So some teams that are going to be interesting to see what they look like because of the new additions and shufflings around this year. Connecticut being one, uh, Seattle seeing what else they can add and if they can be competitive. Atlanta,
hmm
how much better they are this year, and Chicago, uh, what their new unit looks like. We've seen a couple of them in AU with Courtney Williams and Izzy. But we got to see what the whole unit looks like together. And like we said, or like we showed on a previous podcast with Coach Wade on here, it had said he doesn't plan on losing. So
Yeah.
Chicago going to do some winning this year.
Yeah,
But
and a little surprised that we don't get a little bit more Chicago national broadcast. They're one of the teams that's not included in this. In there's 8 teams that are going to be shown 4 times or more, at least on the ESPN family networks. Now, Chicago may get some more games shown on NBA TV or CBS Sportsnet or wherever that will be announced at a later date, but. I just find it really interesting. The defending champs is not the team that will have the most regular season games shown on ESPN platforms. That's going to be the Liberty, who get 9 games. The Aces will appear 7 times, and then, as you mentioned, those other 6 teams that will be showcased 4 times. Drew, coming up here this season, it's really interesting, but again, kind of hard not to make uh, at least kind of hard to justify not keeping some of those games for yourself to broadcast when you see what New York went out and did in free agency, and obviously you're going to want to show them off as much as possible.
yeah, and for those that are trying to become WNBA fans, or just have not sure where to start. You can start this season, man. Just hop in on these national TV games. I'm sure there's going to be, the news about what the cost of league pass is going to be about this year. Going to be coming out relatively soon around draft time. So
Yeah,
just get locked in. I mean, in the very least, you can catch these national TV things if you don't have a team in your area to be able to watch all their games as well. So that's what I do when I can't, when I'm not watching the Mavs, and I don't have NBA League Pass. I just watch the national TV stuff. So
yeah,
mainly, well, I've got other ways to watch them now. But 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 yeah, there's ways to stay locked in. So just
yeah.
get
I
caught
was
up
going to
in
say,
that.
and with there's always still a possibility with Bally Sports that has a lot of some of these teams that aren't getting nationally broadcast games. The questions for them as to what may happen with Bally Sports if there's a possibility that situation doesn't get better before the season starts. There, somebody may need to step up and help them find a new home for these games as opposed to just being on League Pass. They may be needing another option or two out there, maybe like a streaming platform or something as well. I don't know. That's obviously something that probably not, talked about a whole lot, but it is just an interesting question to keep in mind.
Oh, and those fantasy players out there, guys. I mean, if you guys play fantasy basketball and NBA, slot. I mean, that's an easy way to get yourself to transition, to get to pay attention to players. It's the same thing you do on the NBA side. Players you don't usually watch, keep track of. Whoever's on your fantasy teams, that's the games you're watching. So lock in with Fantasy WNBA. We'll be starting a league again, and you could hop in that if you want to, or just play it on your own. But that's definitely a way to get locked in and make sure you're paying attention to the league because you got to pay attention to your fantasy team. But yeah, looking forward to all these nationally televised games this year. An extended schedule. Hope health is good and in the cards for a whole lot of players, especially a lot of those legends or all timers that we want to see coming back and playing that are older. DT.
Yeah,
Hoping EDD's health is looking good for the entirety of the season. Um, just want to see the best of the best out there playing all the time.
absolutely.
And last but not least, on this side of things, AU hoops, BJ, still rolling through. They played once again yesterday,
Hmm.
and man, this is some fun basketball. A lot of the times that I've been there, and just like the first game yesterday, it's been a lot of close competitive games, BJ.
Hmm.
88-86, the final score of game 13. The first one where Team Orange defeated Team Blue, which was Team Hillman over Team Smith, Team Hillman over Team Smith. And
No,
then,
Smith was the orange.
oh, I'm sorry, Team Smith over Team Hillman.
Yeah.
Um, and then Team Odyssey versus Team Mitchell later, and Team Odyssey continues their winning ways over there with a 97-85 win. Um, so I mean, it's been really fun, man. Like I said, I mean, you've got a couple of more weeks of action to be able to come check things out, BJ. You got to be able to slide your way to get a ticket and come watch these games. These are good competitive games, and I don't know if you'll be closer to the floor again. Aside from last year when I got you hooked up, you won't be able to get that close again to
Probably
this high
not.
level
No.
of basketball. So
Yeah.
make your way out there, my man. And
Absolutely. I'm hoping to find my way out there. If not next weekend, the final weekend. We just got to see
championship.
everything that works out with the scheduling. But um, love the action so far. Got a lot of good games coming up with especially what Saturday's action looks like will determine the week's outcome. Team Smith and Team Sims will be squaring off in the primetime game at 7:30 on Saturday, with Team Mitchell and Team Smith competing on Friday, as well as Team Hillman versus Team Sims, and then Team Mitchell versus Team Hillman will be the first game on Saturday. Odyssey Sims still, holding on to that top spot right now, Drew, with the most amount of points, 36-43. Melissa Smith not too far behind at 32-25. And then you've got a couple other players. The top five are all within striking distance of that 3,000 point range. Izzy at 29-42, Lexi Hull at 29-30, and Kelsey Mitchell right there at 29-10. So it's been a lot of good basketball, obviously, like you said, and a lot of good performances thus far.
Definitely, it's been exciting to see the different roles that players take on the new teams when they get drafted onto them, because things get shuffled up a bit. Some players haven't been able to be here because they got other commitments elsewhere, like Lexi Brown, who just got back, and she was, the MVP of that first game, had like 6+ threes. So I mean,
Yeah.
getting to see these players back in action, it's been cool to see the mix-ups and stuff, and a little bit close in personal action. More than you get to see during the regular season, during normal games. And getting to see more, more minutes of players that don't get as much rotational stuff during the season. So like a Kirsten Bell, from the Aces, doesn't get a whole lot because of the Aces, and their starting unit in that first year for her might be different this year. Who knows? But she's been showing out. She was the MVP of that first game earlier yesterday. So. She's been helping out and contributing and doing well in AU, and other players like her and Lexi Hall, and so on.
Absolutely.
But loving the AU hoops. I'll be back out there again on Saturday, so stay tuned for that.
Sounds good.
And that is that on the AU side of things.
Indeed, and that means, Drew, that it is time for a little with it or quit it, a little gamey game.
A little gamey game.
A little gamey game,
Continue.
Drew.
I'm still here.
That's fine. I will just go ahead and tell you, if you're new to the show, how this works. I've got 5 questions ready for Monsieur Drew, and he'll be back in just a moment to answer them.
Oh, I'm here.
I know you're here, but I meant back on screen.
Face?
Back on screen is what I mean.
You want to see that?
You want to see? You want to see? But
okay,
Drew, whenever you're ready, I've got these 5 questions, and you got to tell me if you were with it or if you're going to quit it. Okay?
All right. I'm ready.
All right. We'll start with number 1, Drew.
Number 1.
We talked about it earlier in the show with Jim Boeheim retiring. There are only 2 coaches that have reached 1,000 career wins. in the Division I ranks, and with Jimmy Boeheim retiring, Drew, we will not see another D1 coach reach 1,000 wins in a career until John Calipari does it. Are you with it? You're going to quit it? I could give you the closest behind Boeheim in just a second. Okay.
Yes.
I figured you might be wanting that.
Yeah, because that'll determine Zio answer.
Let me see if I can find that real quick. I had that pulled up, I thought.
Right now, I want to say we won't see one until Calipari does it. But until I hear the other ones, I cannot confirm or deny my answer.
All right. So the closest behind Boeheim coming in, I think it's this is as of a couple days ago, and so I need to make sure that this is still correct. But you had Jim Boeheim at 1,016. Bob Huggins is close at 934, but Drew, he's 69 years old, and the Mountaineers have not been, rattling off the string of victories like they were just a couple of years ago. So unless something changes, it's going to take a couple of years for him to get there, I would think. Do you agree with that?
Mm-hmm.
But behind him, it's going to take a little bit longer for Calipari to get there. 789. Do you think that Huggins stays it out and coaches until he gets to 1,000? Or do you think he is going to retire before he gets to that number?
I think he retires.
So Calipari's next at 789.
Yep.
Bill Self right behind him at 782. And Rick Barnes hot on both their tails at 774.
I
mean, it's
Self's teams have been better lately.
Yeah.
Who's older?
Let's see. I think Self is older.
You don't have to find that answer. I might have to go with Self because his teams have been better lately. The Kentucky teams haven't been, doing their thing, and Kansas is always, in the mix.
Yeah. So just for reference, Calipari is older. He's 64. Bill Self is 60.
Give me Self.
So you're gonna say quit it then?
Mm-hmm. Quit it.
All right. Okay. So not Huggy and not Calipari, but Bill Self is who Drew's going with to be the next coach to reach 1,000 career wins. All right, Drew, number 2. Don't know if you've been keeping up with the conference tournaments this week, but there have been a lot of exciting, improbable runs so far. Drew, just like in 2021, we're going to see a team go from the first round of a conference tournament into the final day and playing for the conference title. Are you with it, or are you going to quit it? There's a couple of at least playing for the conference title. At least one.
For sure.
I don't think we had one last year.
With it.
You're with it? Who are you thinking? Because Ohio State's gotten to the quarterfinals, and they played just a couple nights ago in the first round.
Hold on. Did Lamar win today in the Southland?
No, I don't believe they did.
Never mind then.
So you just think one?
I don't know. I really think there's a chance for somebody to maybe do it because in the conference, it's just got to be the right conference, like where it was close all season. They're only split by a couple of games or something. But I think it's definitely possible. We've seen it before.
Yeah. I think your best bet. I don't know who, but I'm
going to say with it.
Yeah, I was going to say your best bet is probably the Big Ten. The Big 12, West Virginia played but lost earlier today. Oklahoma State was trailing at last check, and they were the only two teams to win in the first round of games on Wednesday night. So something that we'll definitely have to keep our eye on, but I will be surprised if that remains the case. So, all right, Drew, number 3. There's a lot of rumors, a lot of free agents out there, or possibly teams making some deals. This is the NFL. And your Dallas Cowboys should make an aggressive push to go after somebody like a Derrick Henry, a DeAndre Hopkins, or Jalen Ramsey. Are you with it, or are you going to quit it? And if you're with it, who do you think they should go after?
With it, DeAndre Hopkins.
Okay. No defensive help, but you want another receiver.
Yes.
Okay. I like it. I think that's probably the best bet you could get. You know,
we can draft.
I mean,
running
there's a lot.
back.
Yeah, a lot of talk last year about trying to go get OBJ, but I think I'd rather have Hopkins.
Who wouldn't?
Yeah. All right, Drew, number 4, another NFL question.
Mm-hmm.
Are we really going to see a repeat of 15 years ago, Drew, with the Packers sending their former starting quarterback to the Jets? You with it, or are you going to quit it that we are seeing a repeat of that?
With it.
You're with it? You think Rodgers heads to the Jets? Wow. Not just Brett Favre being replaced by Aaron Rodgers, but Aaron Rodgers being replaced and going to the same destination each time.
Then he's going to be a Viking. It's crazy.
You're really buying into the whole storyline progressing. My goodness.
Maybe.
All right. And last but not least, Drew, number 5. Going to go to the NBA for this. Looking at the Eastern Conference, seems like it's a 3-team league, but I argue that it's 4, and the only team that's going to challenge the Bucks, Celtics, Sixers in the East will be the New York Knicks. Or quit it.
Just because they're streaking right now.
No.
What about the Cavs, BJ? You don't like Donovan Mitchell?
I do like Donovan Mitchell. I'm just saying, I'm doing this to get you on the record. You got to pick if it's one team. And
so I need to believe in the Knicks.
If you're with it, you got to believe in the Knicks.
With it, let's believe in the Knicks. Let's believe in the Knicks. Give them a little hope out here. We'll believe in the Knicks. Had to pause on that. Had to think about it.
Yeah, definitely did. It's a good one.
But they got Jalen Brunson. As long as Brunson's healthy and can captain the ship through the playoffs, then yes, with it.
All right, Drew, and that is With It or Quit It, and that is the episode for this week. But don't forget, before you go, don't tune out just yet. We've got some exciting stuff from our friends over at TeePublic. Drew, what's on tap this week? I got the shirt repping the Lowdown merch over here on tonight.
Yes, indeed, BJ. TeePublic got a sale site-wide. T-shirts down to $16. Travel mugs, $21, and many, many others going on through the rest of the night. I think it's going to be all weekend, actually, through Sunday night. So make sure you take advantage and go.
God bless you.
Excuse me. Oh, man. Thank you. And cop some merch, ladies and gentlemen. It's sitting right over there waiting for you on sale, discounted, so why not?
You don't want Drew to have another sneezing fit. You better head over
there.
Right?
That was tough.
Might have to go get me some new shirts. I've been liking this one, but, I could always use another one. And if you don't want to, what's up?
I said, get stocked up.
Get stocked up, indeed. Maybe, the past couple weeks, Drew, we've been doing these shows. It's been raining. Might need to get some spring merch, get a jacket or something. Maybe not for the cold, but for the wet, the rain. So, but if you don't want to go over there, which I don't know why you wouldn't, but you also can support your favorite team, get some new merch in your closet that you can rock all year long by going over and shopping in our description with our friends at Fanatics. You can get right now a 24-hour sale up to 65% off site-wide by using the promo code BOLT, B-O-L-T, BOLT. So if you want to get your college basketball gear, repping your conference champion A&M Corpus Christi Islanders if you're a Southland fan, or maybe, you whichever team emerges from the Atlantic 10, or, the Big Sky, perhaps you want to represent if you are a supporter of Montana State, or maybe an Oral Roberts in the Summit League. Wherever, they've got it all over at Fanatics. You want to get your March Madness gear repped. And don't forget, next week is St. Patrick's Day, so you want to get some green gear as well. You can check all that out over at Fanatics, Drew.
And guys, we have a quick announcement for you. We have a couple of gentlemen joining the Lowdown family. Yes, indeed. As you know, we talk all things basketball. We mainly hit on the NBA and the WNBA here, and we sporadically hit on that college basketball. Well, we've got a couple of guys taking over that college basketball side of things for us here very soon. The Lowdown College Basketball coming to podcast platforms near you very soon. We'll
It's gonna be
introduce
exciting.
those yes indeed those new guys to you here very soon in our college discussions coming up with the March Madness coming up. So be on the lookout for that in an upcoming episode.
Yeah, we probably are going to be doing our annual bracket look next week when we talk about the women's side of things, but we're going to collaborate with our new friends that are going to be taking over the college basketball side of things, probably get some men's bracketology, and with four of us and having all kinds of different opinions, it should be a very interesting discussion. And who knows how long time can fly when we're all having fun and talking basketball, Drew. It's going to be a blast.
And to give you guys a hint, it's another couple of A&M Commerce alumni who will
I
be
like it.
spearheading the Lowdown college basketball. So be on the lookout for that. And
Heck
ladies and
yeah.
gentlemen, if you haven't already before, make sure you rate and review the podcast over on Apple. We appreciate it. It gets the show more exposure and to bring more listeners to us to enjoy the Lowdown alongside you.
I think you can also give a rating on Spotify, if I'm not
You
mistaken,
can,
Drew.
but no review. You can
No
only
review,
review
but
on Apple.
okay. And
So-
don't forget, Drew,
Go ahead.
check us out on the socials up above my head. That is
Yes,
TikTok,
indeed.
Twitch.
At _lowdown, THA_lowdown, TikTok, Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram.
Yeah.
Till next time, ladies and gentlemen. Bye-bye.